Breaking news, Nick Woltemade is furious, livid. He's got a dartboard in his bedroom with Anthony Gordon's face on. Sources close to Voltemade say that he has been telling people that he meant to score the own goal against Sunderland. He did it on purpose, and it's been reported that he's refusing to step foot inside a Greggs unless they bring out a Bratwurst special because he's missing Germany and he wants to go home. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you will probably be able to tell that I'm not being serious. If you can't tell that I'm not being serious, if you're a new viewer of the channel, then this channel might not be for you. This video also might not be for you. Most of the regular viewers of the channel, even from the thumbnail, will probably have been like, what? Why is he posting about that? Because most of my regular viewers will know that when some absolute bollocks like this comes out in the media, the last thing I do is make a video about it as if I believe it. My approach with stuff like that is generally always to have a look into it, have a look at the credibility behind it, and then just sort of assess whether it's like plausible or not.
Bullshit. You're talking bullshit. And they'd go, oh, it's bullshit, man. And I go, yeah, it is bullshit, man. You're talking bullshit.
So if you like that approach, if you like to read about Newcastle or football in general from a perspective of someone who lives on this fucking planet, then please remember to drop a like, subscribe, hit the bell, because this stuff that's got out of hand with Nick Woltemade, all the stuff that I've been reading about on social media, all came from one article from BBC, but originally it came from an article before that. The source that the BBC have used for their article is questionable to say the least, and I'll go into that later in the video. So I can only assume that the person who has written this article for the BBC, who has based it off of this source, doesn't live on this planet. So, as I said, if you enjoy reporting on football that is from someone who lives on this planet, then remember to drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now, I'm not saying that Voltemade is really, really happy at Newcastle at the moment. There's a number of reasons why, you know, he potentially might not be. He's not playing in his preferred position. He was signed as a marquee signing striker, our record marquee signing striker, and he's also not even being given penalties as well. So, like, I can understand why he potentially might not be happy. But before we get into that, before we get into looking at the article that it's all come from, obviously, we've just won 6-1 against Qarabag. And as much as there was loads of goals for me to sit here and analyse from a highlights perspective, realistically, like, it was Qarabag. Their defending was just awful. There's not really much, as a Newcastle fan channel, I'm going to get out of analysing them goals other than their defending was just horrible. The goalkeeper was pretty good, but the defending was horrible. And that's not to take anything away from the lads or anything like that. You know, like, at the end of the day, you can only beat what's put in front of you, and it was a great performance. You know, we were properly on the ball. But for me, the highlight of the game was this.
Anywhere near as easy for Newcastle to slice through Qarabag.
Absolute football heritage.
That's football heritage.
Now, obviously, the main talking points, the main kind of headlines after the game are Anthony Gordon is now potentially on for the Golden Boot in the Champions League, and also the whole bust-up between Anthony Gordon and Kieran Trippier, which sort of leads back round to the Voltemade stuff, which, as I said, will be later in the video. But in terms of the kind of Gordon-Trippier argument and stuff, like, I understand both sides to it, as I always try and do. I'm a bit of a fence sitter at this point. But for this one, I'm not going to sit on the fence. If I'm going to choose a side on this one, I'm going to choose Trippier's side, simply because I see Gordon's side, which is obviously, like, he's a striker, you know, he's chasing individual accolades, and, you know, ultimately, like, you know, he's paid to score goals and he wants to score as many goals as he can. I understand that side to it. I also understand Trippier's side to it, which is obviously, you know, he wants to look after the team. He wants to make sure that players who aren't getting, you know, as many goals at the moment, he wants to make sure everyone gets, like, their fair share. And for me, ultimately, as a Newcastle fan, I don't really give too much of a fuck about Anthony Gordon's personal accolades or, you know, anything that he's chasing after himself personally. I care about the team. I want to see the team in a better place, everyone confident, everyone firing. Like, that's what I care about. That's what I want to see. So as much as I see both sides. I'm on Trippier's side personally. Obviously, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know whose side you're on in that argument. I mean, ultimately, there's no big deal to be made out of it. They kissed and made up at the end. So like, let's not do a BBC here and take something that has no substance to it at all, and let's not blow it completely out of proportion. But also another little thing on it as well. Another little thing, like, as much as it sort of does annoy me that Gordon's taking penalties at the moment, because I like Voltemade, I think he's a great player, and I want to see him more confident, scoring goals, thriving, and just feeling like more a part of the team. So as much as it does annoy me, I also look at it as, ultimately, if Gordon's scoring loads of penalties, there is all this talk that Gordon might fuck off in the summer to Liverpool, right? So if Gordon's taking all these penalties, if Gordon ends up with the golden boot in the Champions League this season, if he fucks off to Liverpool, we're going to be able to rinse them for another 125 million, when realistically he's just scoring penalties. And then all that happens after that is Gordon's gone, he's fucked off to Liverpool, so Voltemade's left, and then Voltemade takes over from Gordon taking penalties. So Voltemade ultimately gets it in the end anyway, and we end up getting more money. So like, when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, it is what it is. Like, let's just not make a big deal out of it. And also, like, Voltemade's not been here that long, so it also makes sense from that perspective to a certain extent as well. But as I said earlier on, like, you can see why, you know, there is sort of rumours that Voltemade might not be happy, because, you know, he doesn't look the happiest at times when Gordon's taking the penalties, and obviously Trippier was trying to stick up for him today to try and get Voltemade the penalty. So, like, you know, there's potentially something there. But do I believe that Voltemade has thrown his toys out of the pram this early on? Do I believe that he's already, you know, going around mumbling that he wants to go back to Germany? Do I fuck? He's a fucking professional athlete. Like, a professional athlete doesn't get to this point of their career without highs and lows. Like, they will go through dry spells. They will go through a 6-month period where things don't feel great. To become a professional footballer, the amount of times you will have been faced with a decision where you're like, it doesn't feel like I'm going to make it. Like, you know, maybe I just pack it all in, and you have to keep on going. So do I think that he's like however many months into his time at Newcastle and he's already given up and thrown his toys out the pram? No. Do I fuck? To be a professional athlete, to be a professional footballer, you need resilience. And I'm sure he'll have enough resilience to realise that, you know, this is just... Realistically, it was going really, really well when he first started. So this is like a month or two, if that, where it's gone to shit. I'm sure he has enough resilience to ride out a couple months before, you know, things can go back on the up again. As I said, I understand that he's been played out of position at the moment, and like, there's reasons he might not be happy, but like, I'm not buying it that he's already done. But let's not just take my word for that, because obviously the BBC, they've decided he is done, because they have written an article off the back of an article that was written by a fan. The BBC have based what they have written, all of this talk about the fact that Voltemade isn't happy at Newcastle, has been based off a fan in Germany writing an article saying that they think Voltemade isn't happy. No credible source, not a single person close to Voltemade, not Voltemade himself, nothing. It is all based off of a fan's article of what they think. So in response to that, I have decided that Michael Elise has decided that he also misses the Premier League, and he really, really liked it when, you know, Newcastle, because we were back in, you know, we showed an interest in him back when, just before he moved to Bayern, and because he wants to move back to the Premier League, and he feels a bit flattered by the fact that we had an interest in him before, and we you know, we've shown a long-term interest in him. So Michael Elise, he wants to go to Newcastle, I've decided. So come on, BBC. Get to work, you fucking helmets. Because that is ultimately what I've just done there. That is the same level of credibility as all this bollocks that's going on about Voltemade at the moment. Mine may be a little bit more fabricated, but let's just... that's semantics. Let's ignore the finer details there. But just so you can see it for yourself, let's have a read of the BBC article, and then also we'll go into where the BBC articles came from and read that as well. So as we can see here, over the last sort of 24 hours, we have a ton of articles that have come out saying unhappy Voltemade eyes Newcastle exit. They've all come from this one here. Newcastle transfer rumours. Newcastle, Nick Woltemade wants Germany return. What we got down here? Newcastle start unhappy and looking to return home. And they've all come from this one here. So let's have a look. Unhappy Voltemade would welcome return to Germany. Germany striker Nick Woltemade is unhappy at Newcastle, and the 24-year-old would welcome a move back to Stuttgart or Bayern Munich by Bild in German. And let's have a look at what Bild in German is. Bild in German, so let me just translate it to English. It's an opinion piece on who would be a good successor to Kane. So if I just scroll down a bit here, we've got, Dear Luis Diaz, don't worry, I'll only keep it short with you. Like, obviously you can tell there's nothing of any substance to this. Dear Harry Kane, you used to be a goal scorer. That's not meant as a criticism. On the contrary, you still convert penalties with such certainty as if they were AI controlled or by the football gods themselves. You're the first striker to become a constant threat from deeper and deeper. The first playmaker with, right, you get the point. But once we get to the bottom of the Dear Harry Kane part, we've got, and who do you have to thank for that? Bayern Munich, the Bundesliga, who would never have developed like this in the hectic Premier League. Look at Nick Woltemade, who's been unhappy at Newcastle for ages and would rather go back to Stuttgart or maybe even Bayern Munich sooner rather than later. Nick would make a good successor for you. So somehow, from that line that I have just read you there, someone at the BBC has read that and been like, yes, that means that Nick Woltemade isn't happy. Because Raimund Hinko from Sport Bild Germany decided that Nick Woltemade is unhappy. So because of that, Nick Woltemade is unhappy now and he wants to go home. So we've just got to deal with that. We've just got to deal with it now, lads. Off he goes. Sad, innit? And that is how low the BBC has. I mean, the BBC have had lower moments, let's be honest, but in terms of sports journalism, that's how low the BBC have got. In terms of just how easily they're willing to accept something is like, I know they put it in their gossip column, but to accept that this is even gossip or a rumor or anything at this point, like, it's not. Otherwise, if that's a rumor, the stuff that I said about Michael Elise earlier on, as I said, get to work, BBC. Get to work. And like, I'm not sure if it's like, I don't know, some kind of like anti-Newcastle agenda where like, you know, I feel like we're just seeing this all the time now. Like, obviously we've got good players now, but like, we wouldn't have a team left anymore if the amount of our players that got linked away were actually gone. Like, next season, if everyone was going to go, Tonali would be gone to Italy, Tino to Man City, Bruno to Man City, Gordon to Liverpool, Lewis Hall to Man United, and then obviously Voltemade back to Germany. Like, I don't know, at least Leo Shahar might get some minutes, but like, fucking hell. Maybe it's just something that I need to get used to as like a fan of a big team. Like, you know, everyone tells me from like, you know, Liverpool fans and Man City fans, Man United fans and whatever else, like once you become a big team, once you've got good players, you know, rumours get made about your players because they want to unsettle them and also other teams want your players. And I guess for me, as a fan at the age that I'm at, I've never really seen that much of Newcastle being good. Like I remember watching Shearer score goals and stuff, but like, that's all I really remember because I was quite young. So like, I didn't really have like any sort of, you know, formed opinions on things like transfers and stuff like that. Like the only time that I was sort of an age where I could start to form opinions in my brain of things like transfers and stuff like that, all I really remember from that point is the Mike Ashley era. So all the things like transfer rumours and stuff like that, like when I was a kid, I just saw Shearer scoring goals and that was great. So obviously for me, this is the first time really that we've had players that have really been linked to it. Like there was obviously Qarabag and like Wijnaldum and like Ben Arthur at times, Tiote, rest in peace, you know, Demba Ba.
I love Zero.
Like you know, there's a few that, you know, obviously we didn't want to lose and we did lose back then. But for it to be like consistent in the way that it is now, like I've never really had this in my lifetime. You know, if some team was coming along and, you know, publishing how they're interested in Emmanuel Riviere and trying to unsettle him, I'd have, you know, I couldn't even drive back then, but I'd have still offered to drive him there. But I think the point that I'm getting at here is that for myself, but also a lot of the Newcastle fan base as well, I think that we maybe just have to get used to the fact that everyone's just going to keep linking our players away. Maybe this is just part and parcel of being a bigger club. You know, at the end of the day, when you've got good players, other teams are going to want them and other teams are going to want to unsettle them. So I think as a fan base, and this is kind of the point of this video in the first place, is instead of kind of everyone losing their head and whatever, I think realistically, we might just need to start being able to just filter out some of the shit, because a lot of it is shit, and that BBC article is a very casing example of just how shit some of the shit is. But anyway, moving on, we've got City at the weekend, and we're losing that game. I usually try and come into things with a bit of optimism. I usually try and find like a positive that we can look at so that I can go into the game with some hope. I have just written that one off. I mean, realistically, at the best of times, City away is a game that we never really win. I say never really win, never really score goals. And then when you also add insult to injury with the fact that we're flying back from Azerbaijan probably as I'm making this video, so you know they're going to have basically no time between getting back from Azerbaijan and then setting straight off to Manchester. Man City, on the other hand, have had an entire week to prepare. And then the other thing that I'm kind of thinking with it as well is I kind of feel like this game is going to be a little bit like when we played Liverpool before the cup final, because obviously now we've been drawn with Man City in the 5th round of the FA Cup. I kind of think that like Eddie Howe's going to sort of take an approach of like just kind of write this game off as he did with the Liverpool game before the final, kind of write it off, sort of throw some like weird tactics out there that maybe just sort of don't make sense at all to try and, I don't know, throw Pep off the scent or something like that. I mean, it probably won't work with Pep, but it worked with Slot. So I don't know. We're not winning this game, and Bruno's out as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of reasons why I've just kind of been like, yeah, if any of you are feeling optimistic, if you have any reason to give me any hope going into the game, then obviously please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to go into the game with hope. I'd love to actually start watching the game thinking, yeah, we can win this, because, you know, like it's always more enjoyable that way, isn't it? But yeah, for me, like written off, guaranteed loss. But I'm going to put the usual pinned comment in anyway, just for fun. So get your predictions in for the game in the comments. Score prediction, first goal scorer. And that's all the noise for this one until the next one.